says that Yaakov stole the heart of Lavan, Harami, and he builds an Eid Gal. Okay, let's try and understand what the deeper meaning is behind this teaching and what it means. He stole the heart of Lavan and he builds this mound. It says, person who struggles with negative thoughts, whatever those thoughts may be, it might be spaces of licentiousness, might be spaces of jealousy, whatever the thoughts that a person struggles with. And a person's trying to run away from these thoughts. They don't want these thoughts. They want to be clean from thoughts. They want to have a space of complete dveikus connection to Hashem. But these thoughts come and they disrupt them. It's similar to when a person says, you know what, I want to run away from you. But the person they're running away from is chasing them even more and ends up chasing them even more. And what he's saying here is very similar. When a person's trying to run away from whatever thoughts that are problematic for their spiritual well-being, it seems that sometimes those thoughts try and run after them even faster. So what is the Eitzah? How are you meant to contend with these thoughts? What he says is what you should do is run. And he says don't look back. Don't engage with them. They're trying to chase you. Don't engage with them. You know, one of the greatest antidotes for a person who's conflicting or has a conflicting relationship with someone, a person's trying to constantly egg someone on, ignore. Don't feed into that conflict. Don't engage with any animosity. Just ignore. Don't look back. He says this is what is meant by initially Yaakov running away. Run away and don't over-engage. Don't overthink it. What does it mean that he stole the heart of Lavan Arami? He says what he stole was these negative thoughts. What does it mean he stole them? How do you steal them? Again, what he's saying is Lavan Arami represents this space of negative thinking, problematic thinking. Again, one of the most important things that a person has to rectify in their spiritual health is their mind and what their mind thinks about. And in today's society, it's something that humanity struggles with most likely in one of the worst ways. And here what he's saying is to run away. You imagine Rabbi Nosson speaking about this back in his time, having an understanding of the bad thoughts and the triggered thinking. Today with social media and today with the environments and the advertisements and all of the elements of just, walking past the promenade, imagine what a person has to contend with. So what he says here is to steal the heart means he didn't tell Lavan that he's leaving. He just left. So what he's saying on a very simple level is to run away without really thinking about these thoughts, meaning just almost like you do a quick U-turn or a quick turn without really mentioning, you know what, this is, I'm just moving, I'm going, and I'm not looking back. Unbelievable concept. He says that sometimes you can't get rid of them, and you want to try and learn Torah, and you want to try and daven, and you want to try and be spiritual, but the mind grips you into negative thinking, into problematic, poisonous thinking. And he says the only way to fix it is to go and engage with something called mili de shtusa. Go and play a game of tennis. Go for a run. Go and do something separate. And there's many scenarios where they speak about Rabbi Nachman going off and just like engaging with mili d'shtusa, which is a strange concept. You would imagine, a person of such a sanctified level, only Torah, only tefillah, only mitzvahs. Sometimes in order to open your mind, you need to go for a run or for a walk or a hike or something of that nature. A mili d'shtusa, it's something of that. You need to go for, you enjoy shopping or you enjoy, I don't know what it is you enjoy doing. But fishing, sometimes the mind needs a little bit of expansion. And the only way to save the mind from that is to engage with mili d'shtusa. Sometimes you have to do something that just engages your mind. You're feeling low, you're feeling lax. Sometimes the mind needs some expansion that is not always within the framework of Torah. Listen to what he says here. Because the Yetzer Hara, you know where it's found? It's found right now. The battle with the Yetzer Hara is what you're battling with right now. It's not the future. And sometimes you have to figure out, how do I get out of this situation right now? What am I meant to do? How do I find a way to engage my mind? I brought you the scenario, the example of Reb Berkovitz, who had the schus of studying from. And he said sometimes, after an hour's sleep or 2 hours sleep, it was very hard to wake up in the morning. And his mind was saying, just stay in bed, like you don't want to get up. So he loves swimming. So he would trick himself and say, I'm going swimming, and the serotonin or whatever, dopamine would start, getting him going, and then he'd come in. So the way to trick the mind by sometimes engaging with something different. It's a fascinating concept. You often hear, no. When it comes to bad thoughts, Torah, say Shema, whatever it is, sometimes you need to just, find something that can distract you, find something that can expand your mind, clear your mind. That's also okay. And that's what he means, that the Yetzer Hara is now. Now, sometimes it's an even better trick, because engaging with mili d'shtusa, it's a fascinating thing we're learning in the Gemara in Shabbos. And the Gemara in Shabbos, we're learning about carrying from a Reshusa Rabim to a Reshusa Yachid to a Reshusa Rabim, which means from a private domain to a public domain. And there's this quasi-land called the Carmelis, almost what's referred to as a colonnade. And the Gemara wants to know, if I'm carrying from a private domain through a colonnade out into the public domain, am I liable? It's a strange question, because at the end of the day, you're starting here and you're ending up there. You should be liable. What's the question? The transition area is what sometimes creates a bit of a space that's an unknown. And I think what he's saying here as well is, for the Yetzer Hara, when it sees like I'm going straight from negative thinking and desirable thinking, I'm going straight into Torah, it's not going to let you. It's going to that's too obvious. To engage with a Carmelist, to engage with like this quasi space which is unknown, to engage with mili d'shtusa, I'm going for a game of tennis, or I'm going to, play some chess, I don't know, whatever it is, the Yetzer Hara can't discern that as well. And that's what he means here. This is what it means to steal. You have to steal your mind. The mind you can't sometimes it's an animal that you can't train sometimes. And you have to know how to trick it into the space that you need to get it into. And that's the stealing, without telling it. But what happens is Lavan chases him. So he leaves, he runs without telling him, and Lavan chases after him. So what happens is a person sometimes is victorious in getting the mind to think in the proper way and trick the mind into not engaging in negative thinking. But what happens is Lavan chases after him. Va'az Hashem Yisbarach oimen be'ezroi mazir es bichinas Lavan Hashamer lecha medaber ima Yaakov metoiv ki toiv asan shel rashayim ra hi etel tzadikim and Hashem Yisbarach merachem elav machad shekva saval kol kach v'u mazir asitra achara sheyisur memenu v'lo yidabru imoy metoiv. So listen to what happened. What happened eventually with Lavan and Yaakov? What actually happened? You know what happened in the story? Yeah, but what did Lavan have? He got a dream. warning him. And Hashem essentially stepped in and said, listen, you touch this guy, you touch Yaakov, you mess with him, you have no idea what's coming to you. And what he says is the same as with our thoughts. If a person does everything that they can to try and manipulate their mind into thinking in the right way and not falling into the inappropriate spaces of thought, what happens is, even though the mind will sometimes chase after you and it feels like it's never ending and you can't avoid it, he says, Hashem steps in. And Hashem says to the Sitra Achra, no. Now you don't mess with this person. There's almost a siyata d'shmaya, there's a assistance from above that Hashem gives a person that now protects them. And this is what it means he made a mound. What does the mound represent? He says, Shama Yaakov Yaakov said to his brethren, take all the stones and make a mound. Remember, that mound was the differentiation. He said to Lavan, you don't cross over here and I don't cross over there. We are separate now. V'yasu gal zeh b'chinas masha shamati mipi Adonenu Moreinu v'Rabbeinu shekol masha adam menatek atzma machshavas ratzim machshavas toivos lemachshavas toivos v'kol ha'taka v'azaza tnua shadam mezia menia matek atzma mera letoiv. Anytime, you have to understand the power of this. Anytime a person looks away from something inappropriate, anytime a person says, you know what, I'm not going to be drawn into this, I'm going to push myself into a positive space. Anytime a person is mazes and they pull themselves out of the muck from negativity to positivity, all of those stones that you've developed, essentially these bricks and these prizes that a person has developed, every time they do that, they all are able to be drawn into a space of the mound. And you create this mound. And this is what he was saying. Take all of these stones, all of these moments in your life that you try to figure out a way to try and get out of negativity, take this and make a mound, he says now. Every time a person, is an amazing concept. And if you think about it, I saw one of the teachers of Chassidus brought down the following insight. The Pri Chadash brings the following idea. He says that one of the sins of desire comes from the snake, which caused or made the main sin by the tree of knowledge of good and evil was vision, was sight. And what essentially he's saying here is every time a person protects their vision, every time a person protects their sight and what they engage with, they are clearing and uplifting and resolving any fallen sparks that are in their life and any fallen sparks, spiritual sparks that are in this world, which had fallen or broken through the sin of Adam and Eve. And those sparks a person gathers. Abruim hem b'chinas lakto avonim be'ika abruim eliyasam hu alidei shmiras hamachshava be'bechina alidei sheminatek mashava b'chol pam mera letoiv. And this is the idea here that we're learning. Anytime a person saves their mind to create that space from negativity to positivity. And I conclude with this, as Zevzeh Shama Yaakov Avan Arami, Eid Hagalazeh. This mound will be testimony. Im ani loy avor alecha, vim ata loy avor alai es agalazik. Kva asisi gal machitza nekudo is a toivish baskim v'neim v'necha, loy tav ala oid elai, v'gam ani loy avor b'gvulecha. Ki eini roitzi oid lichnois v'mekomecha, shemekomech chitzoinim. He says to him, what essentially was he, what arrangement was he making with Lavan? He says, I don't want you coming into my life, and I don't want to come into your life. Meaning, I don't want to come into these places of chitzoinim. What chitzoinim means is all the externalities and the superficiality of this world. I don't want that in my life. And that is what this gal represents. It is this energy, this blocking space that I don't want to enter into this realm, and I don't want you to enter into my realm. I don't want to endanger my soul anymore in this place. All of kol ha'tunos ha'toivos al yedei kol kach kol ma shehayisim natek atim yirah. So essentially, to summarize what we've learned here, is the story of Yaakov saying to Lavan, he ran away from him, he never told him. Then Lavan comes and he chases after him again, and the finality of that is Hashem steps in and says, now you need to build a monument, that's the terminology, a monument, a mound that will separate you. Now what's the significance of this? And the significance is a very personal one. We all deal with the same issue on a daily level. We have Lavan who's trying to chase us. Lavan is the white elements. It presents itself as a pure space that is going to create joy and happiness for a person in their life. The same too, a person is drawn to desire, a person is drawn to negative thinking, and that it presents itself as a positive spiritual space for them that's going to solve all the answers. And what we're seeing here is you have to trick your mind. You have to find mechanisms to distract yourself, to find positive experiences, to open the mind, and that is the trickery. But then what happens is Lavan is incessant. It doesn't stop. It comes after the person. And what he says here is all of the stones, all of the elements where a person has built themselves up and built themselves up and built themselves up through running away and finagling out of those negative spaces, eventually builds a mound. It builds this monument. And that is the monument that Hashem steps in and says, I'm going to give you the energy to see the difference between that world and this world. And you say to yourself, I don't want to enter into that world. So please God, Hashem should give us the blessing to be able to have in the schus of Yaakov Avinu running away from Lavan. Please God, Hashem should build for us these monuments and these mounds of protection, to have positive thoughts and healthy spiritual thoughts. And please God, should be a time of bracha.
Amen.